Something has been stolen from you. Not your keys, not your sleep, though maybe that too. What I mean is this: somewhere between the age of 40 and the age you are now, a kind of fire went out. You used to wake up and simply begin. Now you wake up and negotiate. The coffee is not optional anymore. By 2 in the afternoon, something has gone flat, and no matter how much you sleep, the morning still feels like walking through sand. You have been told this is normal. You have been told it is your hormones, your age, your iron levels, your stress. You have probably tried things. Some of them worked for a week, most of them wore off. And here you are. I want to tell you about a group of monks who live at 11,000 feet above sea level in the Himalayan winter. They do not have central heating. In some accounts, they sleep with no insulation against stone walls in temperatures below freezing. They are, many of them, in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, and their energy, their focus, and the steadiness of their minds have been documented by researchers from some of the most respected medical institutions in the world. What they do with their breath is not mystical, it is mechanical, and it can be done by anyone, in any chair, in any home. There is one part of what I am about to tell you that I have saved for the end. It is the piece that the modern wellness industry extracted and sold, and the piece they left out. The part they left out is the reason the monks live into their 90s with their minds intact. I will get to it, but first, I need you to understand what is actually happening in your body when that afternoon fog comes in. Your mitochondria are aging. This is not a metaphor. Mitochondria are the small structures inside every cell that convert food and oxygen into usable energy. In your 20s, they were efficient, numerous, and flexible. By 50, research is consistent. Mitochondrial efficiency has measurably declined. The cells that should be burning clean are burning dirty. The energy that should be available for your afternoon is being lost as heat and chemical waste before it ever reaches you. At the same time, something called brown adipose tissue, brown fat, has been quietly disappearing. In 2009, Dr. Aaron Cypus at the Joslin Diabetes Center published findings in the New England Journal of Medicine demonstrating that brown fat is highly active in adult humans and that its activity is inversely correlated with both age and BMI. What brown fat does is remarkable. It burns calories not to produce movement, but purely to generate heat from the inside. It is the body's internal furnace. And in most Western adults over 50, that furnace has gone nearly cold. This is the fire that went out, not a metaphor, an actual thermogenic system that has been sitting dormant inside you, waiting for the signal to reactivate. The monks sent that signal every morning before sunrise. The practice is called Kumbhaka, in Sanskrit, the word for vase or pot. The lower torso, when the breath is held correctly, takes the shape of a round vessel. Here is what the practice looks like when you strip away the ceremony and describe only the mechanism. You sit. You are fasting, ideally. Morning is best. You inhale deeply through the nose, expanding not your chest, but your belly. Pushing the diaphragm all the way down, you hold the breath. While holding, you gently bear down on the lower abdomen. Not a crunch, not a strain, but a soft internal pressure, like bracing before something you did not expect. At the same time, you draw the pelvic floor very gently upward. You hold this for 3 to 5 seconds. Then you exhale slowly through the nose. 10 to 15 repetitions. That is the practice. The most common mistake is force. Westerners, when told to hold a breath, tend to clench. The traditional instruction is to hold the breath the way you would hold a delicate vase, firmly enough that it does not drop, gently enough that it does not shatter. Straining spikes blood pressure. Gentleness activates the mechanism. What the mechanism does is this. When you hold your breath, you create a state of brief voluntary hypoxia. Oxygen drops. The body reads this as a signal and releases a protein called HIF-1 alpha, hypoxia-inducible factor. This protein is a construction order. It tells the body to build new red blood cells, to grow new capillaries, to improve the efficiency of how your mitochondria use what oxygen is available. You are not just sitting there breathing. You are issuing a biological instruction that your body has not received in years. In 1982, Dr. Herbert Benson at Harvard Medical School published findings in the journal Nature. He had traveled to Upper Dharamshala in northern India to observe Tibetan monks practicing this breathing under controlled conditions. The monks were wrapped in sheets soaked in 40-degree Fahrenheit water, sitting in a room at 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Through the breath practice alone, they raised the temperature of their fingers and toes by as much as 8.3 degrees Celsius. They steamed the sheets dry with the heat their own bodies generated. That is what a reactivated internal furnace looks like. Not a supplement, not an energy drink. A 15-minute breath practice done every morning in a chair. Think about what it costs you to get through a day right now. The coffee before you can form a sentence. Maybe another cup at noon. Possibly an energy drink by 3, or a piece of sugar, or something called an adrenal support supplement. The global market for energy drinks reached $86 billion in 2023. The market for thermogenic weight loss supplements, the ones containing ephedrine and synephrine, sits at $33 billion. A 2012 meta-analysis published in the Journal of Obesity reviewed those thermogenic supplements and found that they raised heart rate and blood pressure and caused cardiovascular adverse events without meaningfully altering the underlying metabolic dysfunction. They spiked the system without fixing it. The monks spent 0. They spent 15 minutes of morning air. We reach for a stimulant every time the fire dims. They learned to rebuild the furnace itself. By the end of the first week of daily Kumbhaka practice, most people report a similar sequence. Days 1 through 3 bring slight lightheadedness and tingling in the hands or face. This is the carbon dioxide shifting, the calcium ions responding to the temporary alkalinity of the breath holds. It passes. Days 4 through 7, something different, a warmth that spreads from the chest or belly outward, and a quality of energy that feels less brittle than what caffeine provides, not a spike, a steadiness. By 30 days, measurable changes in resting heart rate begin. By 90 days, research on similar breathing adaptations shows improvements in heart rate variability, a marker of vagal tone and autonomic nervous system health that reflect genuine cardiovascular conditioning. In 2014, Dr. Matthijs Cox at Radboud University Medical Center published findings in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. He took 24 subjects, trained 12 of them in a breathing method derived from tummo, then injected all 24 with a bacterial endotoxin, a controlled inflammatory challenge. The 12 who had practiced the breathing voluntarily activated their sympathetic nervous system, releasing epinephrine at levels higher than bungee jumpers, and profoundly suppressed the inflammatory immune response. The control group could not do this. Inflammation, the slow, systemic, unmanaged kind that quietly accelerates everything we associate with aging, responded to the breath, Now I need to tell you the part that was taken out. Chatral Sangye Dorje Rinpoche was a Dzogchen master who lived in the Himalayas until he was 102 years old. He spent decades in caves and hermitages. Past age 90, he walked long distances in mountainous terrain. He practiced this breath every morning of his life, and the practice he did was not only the mechanical breath hold. In 2013, Dr. Maria Kozhevnikov at the National University of Singapore published findings in PLOS One, studying 10 experienced meditators. She found something the earlier research had missed. The breath hold alone, what most people now do under various modern names, produced only mild and peripheral temperature increases. But when the practitioner combined the breath hold with a specific internal visualization, imagining a point of intense heat at the navel, imagining the breath feeding that fire, core body temperature reached the fever zone, 38.3 degrees Celsius. The visualization was not decoration, it was the active ingredient. What the visualization does is recruit the brain's somatosensory cortex, the region that maps body sensation. When you direct intense, focused attention to a place in your body and attach a vivid thermal image to it, the brain reroutes blood flow to match the mental image. It pools circulation in the core. It overrides the normal autonomic reflexes. The fire you imagine becomes, measurably, a fire your body makes. The wellness industry took the hyperventilation. They packaged it in weekend workshops and audio applications and sold it for $500 a seat. They left out the quiet, patient, interior focus, and so people got the adrenaline spike, the dramatic feeling, the tingling, the brief flood of energy, and missed the deep nervous system stabilization that makes a 90-year-old monk's energy clean and sustainable. We spend $1,000 a year on things that exhaust the adrenal glands. They sat quietly and rebuilt the furnace from the inside. Here is what the complete practice looks like. In the morning, fasting if possible. 10 to 15 breath cycles of Kumbhaka as I described. Belly inhale, hold 3 to 5 seconds with gentle downward pressure and soft pelvic lift. Slow exhale. While holding the breath, place your full attention at the navel. Not a thought about it, actual felt attention, the way you would feel warmth from a cup of tea held close to the body. Imagine that heat increasing slightly with each hold. Not vividly at first, just a direction for the attention to go. That is it. No equipment, no supplement, no cost. The tingling you feel in the first 3 days is not a warning. It is the calcium ions responding to CO2 changes. It passes. The warmth that arrives by day 4 is the brown fat beginning to respond to the signal. The steadiness that arrives by day 30 is the vagal tone improving. Dr. Yeshe Dondon was the personal physician to the Dalai Lama. He lived to 92 and saw 40 to 50 patients a day in his clinic in Dharamshala well into his 80s, relying entirely on pulse diagnosis, unwavering in his focus, unhurried in his manner. He did not take energy supplements. He did not require a stimulant to be present. That presence, that quality of available steady attention in a body that has not been exhausted by its own chemistry, is what this practice is for. That word that used to come easily and now takes a half-second longer. That afternoon that used to be open and now collapses. That is not only age, that is a furnace that has not been asked to burn. Start tomorrow morning, 1 cycle, 10 breaths, gentle hold, attention at the navel. Notice what happens on day 4. Tell me in the comments, what time of day does your energy drop most? I want to know what this practice is working against for you.